All right. Hey, so we're back here doing some training and we're talking through kind of the new agent buyer process, if you will. And we're pretty deep into it now. Where we left off the last training was we had sent the offer. So we have actually sent the offer to the other agent. And we talked about you send the offer, it goes out through Zip Forms, and I like to carbon copy myself. And I like to carbon copy the office. So in Zip Forms, you'll see a spot where you can actually click CC myself or CC me or something like that at the in the email section where you're sending it. You're going to CC me. Well, that's going to then go to the email on record for Zip Forms, which should be your personal work email. Then you can also add office@simplifyre.com. And now Andrea gets it. Why is that important? That's important because now she knows what's going on. Because so far, she hasn't been included in this process anywhere. So she now knows, oh, an offer was just sent by Hardev. Great. Now she's paying attention. And she knows what's going on. So I've copied myself and I've copied the office. Why else is that important? Why do you want to copy yourself? The reason you copy yourself is because you know it went through. So the first time you send an offer and text the agent like you're supposed to do, hey, I just sent you an offer. Please let me know you got it. Every document you ever send, make sure you confirm delivery and beat them over the head until they give it to you, because it is not delivered until they say it's delivered. So, but the reason I like to get a carbon copy of whatever I send anytime I send it through Zip Forms is because I want to know it went through. Like, well, I don't know what you're seeing on your end, but I've got mine, so I know yours went through. Check your junk, check your spam, check your whatever. It's there, talking to that agent, right? Well, I sent it on Thursday and you never confirmed, and well, I don't have it. Well, I don't know what to tell you because I copied myself on it. I got my copy. I know your copy went through unless you have the wrong email address in the system, blah, blah, right? So then it becomes kind of a legal thing potentially. And I want to have a record that, no, I sent it. Here's record that it actually delivered. And I used the email address that they gave me in the MLS or the BLC in our case. MLS, Multiple Listing Service, BLC, Brokers Listing Cooperative. So we are technically a BLC, but people use MLS still. So that's why I do the different copies on those emails. I want to know they went through. So then we text the agent, get confirmation of receipt, either in email or text, anyone's fine, and then you're good to go. Okay? So now we've got the agent sitting there looking at this offer with their seller client. They're gonna, maybe they'll call you and ask some questions, but they've really got a couple different things. They're either gonna say yes, they're going to say no, which yes is accepting it. No is rejecting it, and there's a way to mark rejected and sign and send it back to you. They may or may not do a formal rejection like that, but they may just text you and say, sorry, we're going with another offer. But they're gonna say yes, they're gonna say no, or they're gonna ignore you. That's a possibility. Completely ignore you. Happens more often than you'd like. Or they're going to counter offer you. Okay, so yes, no, ignore, or counter offer are really the four options that you'll run into. There could be some conversation that goes on before they send a counter. They may be asking you, hey, we're good, but can you move the closing date back 5 days? Or hey, can we have 3 days post-closing possession? They have some conversation, and that's fine. I like having those conversations. But at the end of the day, the goal is that they're going to say yes, no, hopefully not ignore, but they might, and then they will, or they'll counter offer you. So depending on what they do is kind of what happens next for us. But we're going to go through counter offers at a different time and how to handle that. But as far as interesting, I'm going to back up just a hair. When you do send an offer to a client, what I love to do, best practices, because your client has no clue what's going on, right? They are in the dark, sitting at home. So what I like to do is I like to say, I send it to my client, they signed it, and they text me back, hey, we signed. I say, okay, good, right? And then I say, I'm going to send it to the agent right now. And I'm going to copy myself on the email so I know it went through. So I send it to the agent. And I text my client back, hey, I just sent it to the agent. I got my carbon copy. We're good to go. It's in their hands now. We just have to wait. So now I've set their expectations, and they're confident that I just didn't go to sleep out by the campfire and forget to send it. Like, I am straight up confirming I even got a copy of my own email. So that's just an aside. Again, client management, that experience for them, and Beth and I were talking about it this morning for half an hour, just it's not about what is happening. Kind of like sometimes it's not about what I'm saying. It's about how I'm saying it, you know, and like the words I'm using, not just the basic content. Same with client experience. It's not that you sent the email to the agent. It's what was our client's experience of you sending it to the other agent? Were they in the dark the whole time? They always have to text you, hey, did you send that to the agent? They shouldn't have to ask you that, right? You got to tell them, hey, I just sent it to the agent. Congrats. Now we wait, whatever it is. So, let's see. So the agent is now going to make a decision with their client. Are they going to accept? Yes, no, ignore, or counter offer. Let's just, for today's conversation, say that they accept the offer. Okay, so if they counter, we'll handle it very similarly. We communicate to our client, and then we deal with it. If they reject it, we communicate with our client, and we deal with it. If they ignore us, this is a tough one. Ignoring is hard because it's not really on your radar anymore. It's gone out of your brain, right? You sent the offer. You're expecting them to say something back. You've kind of passed them the ball, and if they don't pass it back, although it's kind of them being unprofessional, it's still your problem because you have clients that are in the dark until you communicate. So my recommendation is use your calendar on your phone, reminders, whatever you need to not forget, because you're going to send that offer at 5 p.m. and you're going to kind of go about life, and they confirm that they got it, and you're like, okay, good, they got it. And then all of a sudden, the expiration is tomorrow night. Well, tomorrow night comes and goes, and you're busy, and your client's sitting at home wondering what in the world. And you're expecting the agent to send you an email back that says, hey, we went with another offer, or hey, here's a counter, or hey, we accepted it. But instead, they chose to ignore you or not respond back, which is unprofessional. And you never so your brain is blank, and you never got the ball passed back. So now we're stuck with our client that's going, is my agent asleep? You know, what's happening here? And then you get that dreaded text. Hey, have we heard anything back? And you're like, oh, I can't believe I let that slip through the cracks. And you're going, no, I haven't yet. Our expiration is passed, so our deal's dead anyway. I mean, like, all this could have happened earlier. Probably should have been part of your initial explanation when you're writing the offer and putting an expiration. But if I at least can say, well, they've got until 5 p.m. tomorrow to accept it or counter us. So you'll hear back from me when they respond, or, you know, we'll touch base when our offer is expired. Because if I were to constantly be badgering the agent, one, it's annoying. Two, it's also unprofessional because we set a deadline. So if the deadline's 5 p.m. for them to say yes or counter, and then it dies, well, then that's what happens, right? The deadline's there. They're going to either say yes, counter, or they're going to ignore us or say no. So the deadline's out there. We're not going to hound them all the way up until the deadline. Like, hey, it's noon, 5 hours early. What's up? Like, no, the deadline was 5, so we're going to let them have until 5 because it just makes no sense to set a deadline and then hound people up to it. So, but we're going to set a reminder in our phone that if I haven't heard from Bob on, the offer for Bob and Sally, call our client. So you're going to want to remember, hey, our offer's expired at this point. They haven't said anything to me. I'm going to reach out to them to find out if that was a mistake or if they've gone with another offer or what the story is. I'm sorry that that's not becoming of an agent, but that's kind of our scenario. We're stuck here. And I'll handle it, and I'll let you know what's next. So your client's going to love the expectation being set that I'm not going to hound the agent because we set a deadline. I'm not going to then call you to tell you I haven't heard anything because you can assume I haven't. If you get antsy, Mr. Client, you can always text me to check. Totally fine. But in the vast majority of cases, unless I was stuck in a meeting and I got something in the middle of it, I haven't heard anything. But I will follow up with the agent when our offer expires to decide whether or not we should be submitting another one or not, or what's next, or what the problem was. And maybe they all fell off a boat and they've been floating in the middle of the ocean for 2 hours getting rescued, right? We have no clue. So we're going to find out some of those answers so we can try to figure out what's next. But client expectation setting is gold. So those are some options, but let's just say they said yes. Okay, when they say yes to our offer, they might text you and say, "Hey, we just sent an accepted offer." I hate that word; it's so hard when you're talking to your phone. Accepted, ACCEPTED, accepted offer. We just sent you an accepted offer, or into your email. Can you please confirm that you got it? And I'm going to do the same thing. Yep, let me check. Check my email, reply, got it, thanks. Go back to my text feed with them. Yes, thanks, I just replied, confirming receipt. But you're just keeping that communication line open to the agent. You're going to find so many times that you have experiences with agents that you remember, good and bad. And so we want to be the ones that they remember that are good. High communication, high grace, fast, responsive. Emails don't ever, emails come in. I know some people are they want to have the last word people. You say, "Hey, run to the store," and some people just leave. And then some people go, "Hey, no problem. I'd be happy to do that for you." And then you say thank you, and then they say thank you again. And all of a sudden it's just like one word back and forth texts or talking. We want to be a version of the person that is constantly communicating. So they send you an email that requires no response, right? They say, "Here's the homeowners association documents," period. You don't really have to respond. There's nothing for you to say that's helpful. However, respond back, "Thank you, received." They're going to love to know that you got it. That way they can get it out of their head. Did she get that or not? So part of that, they send an accepted offer. We respond in multiple ways, potentially, that we got it and thank you. And, I'll get my team on it. I'll get my assistant working on that right away, and we'll make sure we're communicate to the title and the lender and all the professionals involved. There's all kinds of ways you can say those things, but because that's what's next. So what's next is we've got the accepted offer. Yay! So what we do is you immediately call your client. And if you want to see what I do, it's this. My phone's over there, so it's empty. I record, I go to a text message, and this is me. Yeah. Not everybody's going to be able to do this. I understand that, but I am the extreme version. Text message feed, go to video. Yo, what is going on? Hey, crazy news. You got the house. This is nuts. I can't believe it. You guys did so good. You followed all my instructions. You put in a killer offer, and now you're getting to reap the rewards. So congratulations. Here's what's next. We're going to be sending you an email in the next day or two that kind of gives you an outline of what is going on. It's going to be your new Bible. Print it out. Put it on your fridge. It's going to have earnest money and inspections and deadlines and dates and all this stuff. We're on top of it. I'm watching it. My assistant's watching it, but I want you watching it as well, because it is your transaction and you are the one that needs to feel comfortable through it. So I'm going to send you that. I'm going to give you all the documents. We're going to take care of you from here on out for sure. But I just wanted you to know, congratulations. Just celebrate tonight. Don't worry about anything. Just enjoy the night. And then tomorrow at some point, you're going to get that email with all the things to start doing. And they're actually kind of fun. So anyway, congrats. Enjoy. Holler if you need me. Send. Guess what your client thinks of you now? That dude actually cares. I'm not a paycheck. He actually is emotionally connected to me and understands my world, and he's excited. And I'm telling you, I get, haha, you're hilarious, thanks so much. I get videos back sometimes of them cheersing 2 beers or something. I get, who knows what you get back. But that is a relationship and business game changer, those types of things. And I'm pretty much an open book. I try to give you guys everything I do, and you can choose what you'd use and don't use. But if you can figure out how to get comfortable in front of a camera and vulnerable, you're going to change their life for the better. They're going to love you. So that's just one example of how that happens. So that's what I do. Accepted offer, celebration text, all that stuff I said. And then now they know it's done. They don't have papers, they don't have documents, but it's coming. They've been told. No, side note, don't tell them they got an accepted offer until you see the paperwork. You know, the agent says, hey, I'm going to send over the acceptance here in the next hour. Awesome, thank you. I know my clients will be excited when we get that. Don't call your clients and go, hey, we got the house. Because about the time you do that, the papers never show up. So don't tell them until it's here. You know, is there a scenario where you might call an investor and say, hey, I think we're going to get it. I don't have any documents yet, but, you know, just kind of keeping you in the loop? Yes. But your average homeowner who's put 15 offers on houses and losing, and they're highly emotional, and then you do that to them and then the papers never show up, that's going to be devastating and a great way to lose a client and definitely hurt them. So be very careful. Like I said, there are times when it can work, but just be very careful. So, but now we've communicated to our client. That is the first one, because I promise you, if you do other things first and do it right now, don't wait 5 minutes, because all of a sudden you wait 5 minutes because you're going to take a phone call or you're going to finish an email or you're going to grab dinner and then tell them in 30 minutes, you forget. And now they're calling you again. Hey, did we hear anything? Oh yeah, we got the house. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, that was fun. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? It's like a downer. It's like, ugh. So everything is crafted to be a blessing and up their experience. So you told your client, now you make sure that Andrea, office@simplifyre.com, is now included on every email you ever send to anyone. She's really good at hitting the delete button if she doesn't need it. If it has nothing to do with her, she'll delete it, no problem. What's a problem is if there's emails going and she's not on them and should be. So if you're emailing somebody about where you're gonna eat dinner, your client, where you're gonna meet for coffee, totally fine if she's on that email. Get in the habit of just having her on every email, because now she's tracking what's going on and she can step in if she needs to, she can help you, whatever. You just don't wanna, what can be hard for her is 4 or 5 emails down the road, you missed something, which I would, that's why she's employed. You missed something and she didn't even know it was happening, and now we're missing a closing, and it could have just been as simple as adding her to the email chain and you could have gone to sleep. I go to sleep. I don't go to sleep. I don't want my clients to see this thing and think I go to sleep. But we have a lot going on, and that's why we have multiple people in the right seats on the bus to make sure that this thing keeps moving forward. So copy her on everything. So now you've got this email from the agent potentially, because agents and other people are not great sometimes at hitting the reply all button, right? In the business world, Robin, I know you came from there, Hardev owns businesses. When you hit reply all, it's scary, right? Reply all is how you get yourself in trouble sometimes. In real estate, reply all is almost always very important to do, because they're on that email chain for a reason. It may be 2 title company people do 2 different things at the title company, the lender, the whatever. So if they're already on it, hit reply all as your default mode. And you're gonna wish other agents were taught this, because you're gonna send an email copying Andrea to an agent, and that agent's going to hit reply, and it's going to come only back to you. And you're going to go, I needed Andrea to see what you said. So now you have to forward the email, you know. So get used to reply all. If it starts to be something that you're not sure, maybe it's something the lender shouldn't see, like the lender's on an email chain and they say, hey, can somebody send us something? And then you're going to also send an inspection report. Well, you don't want the lender to see that. There's no reason for a lender to see an inspection report. So you have to be conscious of sensitive information, but most of the time, you're going to reply all. Because, you know, other agents are going to have assistants too. And everybody operates differently. So, but copy Andrea. So now, you got this email from the agent. Yes, we've got it. You've excitedly told your clients, And now the next thing you do is make sure Andrea's got it. Forward it all to Andrea, everything, boom. Just because when you forward that, you got the other agents already on there because they emailed you. So in the forward, that's going to show their email. It's going to have the documents. It's going to have maybe the agent wrote something that's helpful, whatever. Forward it all to Andrea. And you can just say something like, hey, we got an accepted offer. Let me know if you need any help, but we're ready to send out the emails, the congratulations emails. Okay. So
does she do the congratulations emails?
She does.
Okay.
She is going to change. Well,
She's done very good.
our Deb knows.
I'm sure she does.
Yeah.
She take quick action, same time.
Oh,
She did what?
She take quick action.
Quick
same
action.
time.
She's very quick.
She's very quick.
She tries to not step on your toes, but she knows that at the end of the day, it's her job to drive the bus and ask you if she needs you. There's things she can't do legally, and there's things she can't do from a business smarts perspective. But a lot of the just mundane stuff is what she handles. So now you've sent it to Andrea. She's got everything she needs. If she doesn't have everything, she will likely just reach out to the other agent. You might be copied on it, but she'll just go, hey, I need the seller's disclosure. That was not part of the signature packets. Or I need the lead-based paint. Or, hey, can you send me the HOA documents? Right?
I don't have to worry about that.
You don't have to worry about that.
Okay, that's good.
That's part of the reason to be copied on everything is good because now you're at least feeling comfortable that it's being done. Me, she does so many for me that I don't actually get copied on everything because I'd have too many emails. But for you guys, you might be working on 3 or 4 at a time. That's very manageable. It's going to feel not manageable at first, but it will be eventually very manageable. And you're at least being able to see, oh, good, we got the HOA docs. Oh, good, we got this. Oh, okay, cool. Andrea's on top of that.
Same with lead-based paint, because I'm concerned about making sure we have the cert if it's supposed to be there.
Yep, lead-based paint and seller's disclosure, all that comes from MyBores. Generally, it's uploaded into the matrix when you go to write your offer initially, so you're going to get it, put it in the system like our videos show us, and then you're going to send it for signatures and send it to the agent, and then it's all done.
Okay.
In the scenario where it's not there, she's going to look through your documents and go, no seller's disclosure, no lead-based paint, and she'll go get it.
Yeah, I've had several without the seller's disclosure. So
Absolutely.
It make me wonder, am I supposed to ask for those?
Nope. That's also always a good thing because you know what's happened so far and she doesn't. You don't have to hold her hand through it, but I'm over communicating in most cases, as you guys well know at this point. I'm an over communicator. I'm going to say the same thing 10 times and I'm going to remind you of stuff that you've done 100 times. I still tell Andrea, hey, make sure to say this. She's said that 100 times, but at the end of the day, who's going to court? Me, not her, right? So you have to own it, but she's really good and that's why we train. You guys are experiencing high level, intense, take it really serious training too, because at the end of the day, this is a big deal. So she's gone through all that and she's done 200 transactions. She's done more transactions than an entire brokerage sometimes does. So she's been through it all. But yes, so if your email to her was, hey, we just got an accepted offer, we can send the congrats emails. By the way, there was no seller's disclosure or lead-based paint, so you'll want to grab those 2 from the agent. All of a sudden, she goes and gets them from the agent. Then she sends them to your client for signatures. Then she gets them back. She sends them to the agent again, and it's over, and you never did anything. It's awesome. That's what she's there for. Because again, our goal is that we're working on the people side. This is the big training with Zillow stuff, and this is the big training with lenders, and this is the big, you guys have to be great at that because she can't do that. She's not doing that. So we get to focus on what we're really, really, really good at. She gets to focus on what she's really good at. So now Andrea's on top of it. So what happens now? Well, Andrea is going to send these emails that we talked about. She's going to send an email to the lender, the title company, and the other agent. Basically, one email. This is, again, you don't have to do this. This is just understanding the transaction. She's going to send this email. It's going to have all the documents that everybody's supposed to see. Are there documents that we're not going to send? Absolutely. When you're copied on that email and you don't see the personal property agreement, because, we're buying their four-wheeler. I don't know, we're buying their lawnmower. That's going to be on a personal property agreement potentially, or maybe it's going to be on another paper. That won't be in there because we don't want the lender to think they're loaning on personal property. They're loaning on real estate. So outside of standard appliances, we're going to generally put things on another piece of paper. So it'll be on some version of an addendum or personal property agreement. Well, that won't go to the lender, so it's not going to go to the title company. So it's not going to be in that email. And that's important information to remember, is that there are things that are sensitive enough that will screw up an entire deal, or at least make it a headache. And things like personal property, that all stays between the agents and the buyer and seller. That does not go to title, does not go to lender. Checks to contractor, that the buyer is going, say the seller is going to pay a contractor to do future repairs on the property. That's fine. But do not send that to the title company or the lender. That's none of their business. Has nothing to do with the real estate transfer. This is that I said, hey, I can't get this work done in time, but I'm going to go ahead and pay the contractor $10,000 so they can do it whenever you're ready, Mr. Buyer. That's between buyer and seller. That is personal. That is not real estate oriented. Obviously, it's related to the transaction, but it is not the transaction. And if the lenders get a hold of that, guess what they say? Hold on a second. What needs work? We're not loaning on a house that needs $10,000 worth of work. Whole deal goes bye-bye. Okay? Or they require it to be done before closing, and now we back the whole thing up 30 days. So,
Well, that would be in Andrea's.
Andrea's gonna.
Generally, that would be in her hands.
You got it. Reason I'm telling you is because
I'm telling that to myself.
yeah, you want to know it, but two, you're gonna have these moments where you go, hold on, we're missing this piece of paper that you had literally just had signed, and your brain's gonna go, hold on, she didn't send the whatever.
Yeah.
She probably didn't send it for a reason, and it's because she doesn't want the three people, title and lender and agent, maybe just the title and the lender. She doesn't want them to get it. They don't need it. It's nothing to do with them.
Gotcha.
So it's on purpose. And then occasionally you'll have to save yourself from another agent because another agent hasn't had this conversation with their team lead, and the other agent goes, oh, and here's the, and you go, oh, you big dummy, what did you just do? And then you go into mode and you go, Eli, what do I do now? And I go, no problem. Fortunately, our buyer's using Austin like they're supposed to, and they're using Verus Title, which they're supposed to. And I make one phone call and say, hey, delete that. Make sure that doesn't exist anywhere in the file. Thanks. Because they don't, Austin's not in the business of sending stuff to the underwriters that's stupid to send. He's guarding that.
He wants it to go through.
That's right. Title is not guarding that as much. And good thing to remember, anything that goes to title goes to the lender. So if you're thinking, I'll send it to title but not the lender, you are sending it to the lender automatically because the title company shows everything to the lender because that's their job. Remember, they're that middleman that every drug deal in the movies needs. We hand them all the documents, they hand them the money, they hand them the deed, they hand them the invoice, and then the title company gets it all, says, great, everybody did what they're supposed to do, and they pass it all out to the right people, and then everybody goes home, nobody gets shot. The drug deals, they always get shot because somebody doesn't play fair. The title company ensures that everybody plays fair and nobody gets shot. So anyway, that's what Andrea's doing. That's her first step, is she's going to start with, it's really synonymous with the second email, but the first email, one of these first two emails is going to be title, agent, and lender to communicate. Here's all the documents. So it's boom, it's started. Everybody's got what they need. Here's all the communication pieces. Here's all the people involved. And there's going to be either in writing or a document with lender contact, title contact, buyer contact, my contact, your contact, her contact, like everybody that's involved in the transaction. Now, does everybody pay attention to this email? No. There's plenty of times where a lender or a title company person didn't pay any attention, and now they're trying to talk to you. And you're going, hey, I don't know what you're doing. We literally told you the contact for this transaction, big bold red letters, and everywhere else. is office@simplifyre.com. So I'll forward this one, but please change the contact in your file because you don't have time to mess with that. You shouldn't be messing with that because the exact opposite could be happening. Andrea could be having all this communication that you may or may not see. I'd say she'll probably copy you, but say you don't see something. Well, then you kind of take over something and all of a sudden it's a mess. So it's important to just, I think Ashley, Brad, I don't know, somebody Andrea mentioned the other day is just really good. If he gets an email or she gets, whoever it was, forward, and it's done. So that's fine. Forward to Andrea and then leave it alone and she'll handle it. Remember on forwards, the documents attach. On replies, they don't. So that's important. Seems logical. Seems like something you may or may not know about emails. But in general, when you hit reply to an email, the documents that are in that first email don't go again. They're gone. So just be sure, if you hit reply. So the way this plays out, I know this is a lot, but the way this plays out is a lender emails Eli Skinner and sends me a document to be signed. I hit reply and I say, I've added Andrea to this, she'll get it signed. And I add Andrea in that reply. Well, guess what? The document did not go in that reply, so Andrea does not have the document still. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's different emails that say, do you want to attach?
You can, sometimes your email settings can be adjusted, but just in general, most replies don't include the documents, which is okay. But so what I do is that the lender forwards me sends me the email to Eli. I hit forward and then Andrea, and then I add that lender back on the forward. And I say, I forwarded this to my assistant, she'll handle it. Now the documents are in the forward. Forwarded emails do include the attachments most of the time, depending on your settings, but that's how it's normally set up. So trying to keep Andrea in the loop on everything is humongous, okay? So that's the first email. She's connecting everybody, all the professionals, if you will. The second email that goes out at the same time is an email to your clients. It's going to include a digest of very, very important details, as you heard on my video text fake that I did. It's going to include very important details about when to turn in earnest money, how to turn in earnest money, how much earnest money. It's got the very top of it, for instance, says, do not, all bold, huge letters, do not do anything negative with credit. Make sure you pay your bills on time. Do not buy a car. Don't miss a payment. And then we also say, don't add or take money from your bank account that is abnormal. Because, all of a sudden you have this big outgo on your bank and you're going to have to prove it to your bank, to your lender, that you're not making some mortgage payment or you have some big end to your bank. You're going to have to prove to them that it's not the, drug cartel that's putting money in your bank account for money laundering. So we have that huge. Then we have things about earnest money and then ordering inspections and click here or call this number. And what if you have a chimney, then call this guy. And if you have a this and this, and pro tip, ask about if you need help deciding what inspections to do, please ask us. This is all legal, meaning it's important that we're helping our clients, but we're covering our back. Because I don't want ever to be a time where our client said, well, you didn't tell me to have a chimney inspection. Yeah, I did. I've got record of the email sent to you, right? So, and I've opened the can of worms in general that just says, if you have any thoughts or concerns or questions, please ask us about what inspections to order. So we've done that through this email, given them some tips. We give them a $35 off thing for inspections if they order it through Housemaster. We've given them a PDF on how to turn in earnest money. We've given them maybe a paper on what it's called vesting in title. It gives them a really good description of how you can take title as a married couple, as two different individuals, as it's got descriptions of that because they're going to be asked by the title company, or they should be asked by the title company, how do you want to take title? We just did it with Mickey, Hardev's client. Yeah. We just asked him. And so I called Mickey and said, hey, here's what we're going to do. But this email, we try to send that document with it so they can already be thinking through that and be prepared. And again, people like to know that we're on top of it. So that email's got a lot. Yeah.
Do they have something in there about termite inspection?
Yes, we talk about wood destroying inspections.
Okay.
Yep.
Or even like, would inspection cover like water in the basement?
It does. Yep. Then when the whole home inspection will cover the basement.
Okay.
Yep. So there's a big long list, and Andrea, if you wanted to email her at some point and say, hey, can you just shoot me the buyer email? I want to see it. She can send it to you, and you can kind of look at it. But you'll get it on your first client anyway, because you'll be copied on it.
And title always go on two names if in the loan is two people.
Great question. If the loan is two people, let me think how they do that. You can normally have a co-signer that does not own the house.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I think you can have a co-signer that does not own the house. But we don't, there's so many different ways that lenders do it. I'll try to find out exactly how, but I know if you can own the house without being on the loan. So my wife may be owner of the house, but I'm the only one on the loan. That happens because she doesn't make any money, so they won't let her on the loan. It makes no sense to put her on the loan, and they literally will not allow her to be on the loan because she has no income. So she owns the house, but she's not on the loan. Normally, if you're on the loan, you also have to be an owner of the house, but not always. So most of the time, good practice is whoever is on the loan is also an owner of the house. That's a good way to just naturally think. Although it doesn't have to be, it's going to be up to the lender to decide.
So we only say verbally to the lender that we are also want to add that name.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we did that for your transaction. We added her.
Yeah.
Right. So
I will actually have 3 people to own the home.
Yep.
And only one person with a loan.
yep, and that's totally fine.
If she ever finds
There are scenarios where a lender will say, well, we need to take them off the house, and then they could do some other sort of transfer, but very seldom. I don't have that issue. But we'll work with the lender to determine that. What I do is go ahead and write everybody that they want owning the house, and then we can always change it on an amendment.
Yeah, that we can change anytime.
Yeah.
We want to add the name.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Very easy.
It's not hard, but I just do whatever they're planning to do, and then we can figure out the details of title vesting later normally. The only time that, if you're going to completely change buyers, that can be a little difficult depending on the scenario, but that's a totally different conversation that is an investor strategy more than anything.
Okay.
So this email has gone out now to your client with a bunch of information, and it's really thorough. It's not everything, but it's a really good start to the important stuff. It explains an appraisal. Here's what's going to happen. Your lender's going to order this. Make sure you order it immediately. It's this long on your screen. It's a big email, but that's kind of what they're going to use to figure out next steps. So that's the next thing that happens. And then in that email, they're being asked to, send us these things. Send us the check when you turn in the earnest money, or screenshot of your Venmo account when you'd send it, and let us know when what day and time you've scheduled the inspection to be. These are all things because we want to make sure we're following up that they actually did what we told them to do. Because is it kind of their problem? Yes. We told them to do it. They didn't do it. That's not my problem. But it's kind of my problem because they hired me to make sure that, they did this right. And so I need to follow up on that. So we're trying to make sure that they did that. So, yep, the first thing is earnest money. So, this is just in general, when you go to buy a house, you've got the accepted offer. She's sending out emails. That's what we're doing behind the scenes. But client is, by and large, it's going to be earnest money, turning that in immediately. The contract that determines how quickly it has to be turned in. Our template says 4 business days. That's pretty slow.
4 business days.
Our contract says 4 business days is what we automatically have in there. You can change it, but I don't ever recommend less than 2 business days. Here's why. if it's a Friday and it's Memorial Day weekend and you get an offer accepted at 5 p.m., nobody's going to be open until Tuesday, title companies. So Friday we can't turn in, it's past business hours. Saturday they're closed, Sunday they're closed, Memorial Day, Monday they're closed. All of a sudden, that's 3 days gone. So these agents that write 2 days, like just 2 days, not 2 business days, 2 days, they're out of contract because of the weekend. It's like not knowing Christmas is coming again. Like you literally just made a really dumb move when they could have avoided it by thinking ahead. And so we think ahead and we say, okay, 4 business days, so we don't have to rush around like crazy people trying to turn this in, or maybe we have to mail it from California or whatever. But 2 business days is absolutely reasonable, because in that case, Saturday's not business, Sunday's not business, Memorial Day is not business. So now we have Tuesday and Wednesday to turn it in, easy. So that's why we do what we do. We do 4 business days on average. If we ever get pushback or need to be aggressive, we'll say 2 business days. But
Inspection 10 days?
Inspection, our normal right now is about 10 days. That's what's in the contract that we all, in our template. You can change it to be slower or faster. But if you're faster, you better be sure that your inspector can make it there.
Right.
But that's the next thing. So that first time when they get that email, it's turn in earnest money, which if you use Verus, it's a Venmo transfer. Boop, done. Verus takes Venmo and they take a photograph of a check. So you write your personal check at home, take a picture and send it to in@veristitle.com, which is in the instructions that we're giving them. Take a picture of it, hit send, email, gone. All of a sudden, earnest money's turned in. Great. There's a reason we use Verus. That's one of them. So earnest money, then inspections, ordering those right away. For your information, it is easier to order an inspection if they call Housemaster, in the sense of less information is required. If they do it online, it's, you don't have to talk to anyone, but you have more information you have to fill in, and it's kind of annoying, honestly. So I would call.
And that's up to them.
That is up to them. We only recommend Housemaster. If you look at our preferred provider list on that 5-page document I sent you a while back, Housemaster is the only one we recommend. There are plenty of others, but Housemaster is who we recommend. We've got a great working relationship with them. They bend over backwards for us because we do so much business with them. But that's on them. They order it and get done. If they're having trouble ordering it, which happens, some grandma doesn't know how to whatever, and she's nervous or whatever it is, or maybe not a grandma, right? It could be anybody. Then I'll call them. We'll get it done. Have Andrea do it. No problem. Okay. But, they need to pick and know the pricing and all that. But I'd say 1 out of 50, I have to order it. It's a lot of times it's a language barrier that makes me have to order it.
Lender need inspection or lender no need inspection?
Lender never gets inspection.
Because they have appraisal.
Yeah, that's all they care about. We never let them know about inspections. The reports, any of the responses, anything related to inspection stays with the agents. Earnest money, inspections. And so in the timeline of a transaction, you're going to find that once you've got the acceptance, it's like high busyness, right? All these emails are going out. Your clients are scheduling inspections. They're turning earnest money in. It's a big deal. Then it goes like this, because we got to wait for the inspector to show up. So this is a buyer transaction. Offer acceptance comes in and it goes ramp. We got to do all these emails. We have to do earnest money. We have to do inspections. We have to, make sure the lender's got stuff. The appraisal's being ordered. It's crazy busy on the getting it started side. Then it comes down because you've got maybe 7 days before the inspection even occurs. And on our side, there's not necessarily a ton, certainly the agent side, Andrea may be working on stuff, but title company, lender, and Andrea are working, but you and your clients are going to feel like it's a lull. And so prepare yourself for, you've been seeing these clients every day for 3 weeks, showing houses, talking and communicating. try not to let this happen relationally. That's an important just customer service thing, because you're going to, all of this time and building rapport and friendship and care and coffee and houses and yay and celebrations and emotions. And then if you're not careful, you don't talk to them for 2 weeks. And I would say, try not to let that happen. Try to make every Monday at, after our team meeting at 10:30 or 11, you call all your clients that are under contract and say, hey, just wanted to give you a quick update, and tell them whatever's going on. Hey, there's not really a ton going on that you need to worry about right now. We're working in the background. It's always good news when we're not calling. I say, as much as I love to talk to you, when I'm not calling you, that means everything's going really well and there's no major milestones. So just relax and enjoy the ride. We'll let you know if we need anything. Or, hey, I know you had your inspection, on Friday, and, we sent that response on Saturday. So now we're kind of just waiting. So when I get a response back from the agent, which should be sometime on or before Thursday, I'll be back in touch. And I even tell them the communication timeline ebbs and flows. It's going to be really busy when we first get your contract. And then while we wait on inspection, it comes back down. And then it's back up during the inspection negotiations. And then it's back down while we wait for the appraisal. And it's back up if we have to negotiate appraisal. And it's back down while we wait for closing. And it's back up right before closing. And then it's back down after closing. So it's this constant thing that has nothing to do with balls being dropped or issues or no issues. It's just the nature of the beast. You hurry up and work hard, and then you wait. You hurry up and work hard, and then you wait. So if you don't hear from me for a week, that's okay. That's because everything's going well. If you start hearing from me every day, that means we're having trouble. And that's why we're talking. You'll get a sense for that. So I have that conversation with them, make sure they understand that too, because they literally will have withdrawal symptoms from you. If you are doing a great job of building rapport and a friendship, they're going to feel like I haven't talked to you. I got one call the other day. Hey, stranger. It's been like 4 days since we had talked, but we spent so much time together and we enjoy each other's company that she's just like, hey, stranger, I feel like it's been forever. And it really does feel like forever for them. So just be careful with that. So they've ordered inspections, and then at that point, this is the big overview and really what's going to be heavy for you. This is not Andrea's world, because there's all kinds of weird stuff going on behind the scenes. But for you, it's, making sure Andrea's working on it, but you can always, again, part of your communication, not letting it dip too low, checking in on earnest money. If Andrea hasn't said anything to you, then you can always check in with them and say, hey, did you got that earnest money taken care of? Yes, we sent a picture to your assistant yesterday. Oh, cool. Awesome. I just honestly wanted to call and talk to you first anyway, but I'll just confirm we've got that, but awesome. Congrats. Thank you for doing that. Inspections, I saw that came through, that it's going to be on Tuesday. Wonderful. You're killing it. Anything you need from me? Nope. Awesome. Great. I'll be in touch. Basically, your inspector is going to send me the report. Again, I'm telling you so much more here, but this is my communication with my clients all the time. Your inspector is going to send you the report. Probably send me the report. You scheduled it, so I don't have all the details, but when I get it, I'll let you know. Or when you get it, if you don't see me on the email, feel free to just forward it to the office. And that way, I've got it too. If I get 3 copies of it, that's fine with me. It doesn't matter. I just want to make sure I've got it as soon as I can so we can.
So do you want to ask them to send the inspection to our office?
Yep, the inspection. Yep, they'll send it to the office email. Yep. If they order through Housemaster, it's going to automatically come to us because we're in their system appropriately. But yep, it's just conversation, right? It's one of those things like we don't really need them to send it to us unless they didn't if they hired some fly-by-night inspector and didn't give them our contact info, then we won't get it. Mm-hmm. So you're just working through that, but you can always laugh and say, if you sent, feel free to forward it just to make sure we got it. We probably did, but just forward it. That way you're comfortable and confident that we're on top of it. So,
does the agent have to go at a time of inspection?
Good question. The question was, does the agent have to go to inspection? No. I never go. And the buyer? Buyer does go a lot of times. They don't have to.
Okay.
I tell them, in our email, it'll say you can go or not go. Our email communicates that to them. The reason I don't go is because I don't want to give them a false sense of security. I'm not an inspector.
Right.
I'm not going to digest what the inspector says, and then tell them later. I am not going to do it. I'm not licensed to do that. I can do what I'm doing, right? So, and I will tell my clients that I don't go to inspections. I said, I'm happy to meet, I'll tell them sometimes, I'm happy to meet you there as it wraps up and I can kind of listen with you to what the inspector's comments might be. But I don't go to the inspections because, ma'am, I really don't want to make you think under any circumstances that I'm an inspector or I know things about plumbing or whatever. I want to get the report, the official document from the professional, and then I will read it along with you can read it, and then we can call him with questions, which is exactly what our email says. That's
So, question, so who lets these guys in? The seller? Sellers
great
in?
question.
Or
The
us?
inspectors that are good and connected and we should be hiring have access to the showings like we do. They set their own showing through Broker Bay.
They throw broker.
Okay, good to know.
Yep, they set it through, and your client will ask you that. They'll go, "How do we get them in?" I'm like, they've got the same access we do. They're connected to our kind of group, and they'll make sure that
The appraiser too.
the appraiser too.
That's
Yep.
good to know.
Yep. And if they don't have access, then that's a good thing to remember. If you have a contractor or an appraiser or a inspector that doesn't have access to this listing, then they're not a part of MIBOR, which then means you have to get special permission to allow them in the property without being accompanied by a MIBOR member.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Only MIBOR members have natural, is the word I'll use, automatic access to enter a property.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it all works well because I schedule through Broker Bay, because I'm a MIBOR member, I can schedule through Broker Bay, and I'm in the system, and they can say yes, and I get notified, and it all works.
Okay.
But if I've got a contractor that's going to go look at the basement, he's not a member of MIBOR. I have to either accompany him or I have to get permission. Hey, my contractor's going to be there on Saturday at 2. Can I get a code so I can let him go in by him, without me? And the answer is going to be yes, the vast majority of times, but you can't just give out a code. Ever. Never give out a code.
Never go out of code.
Because can you
So,
imagine?
like-
I hope I remember that.
Yeah.
So inspector legally have to be a member of my board.
Yes, it would be considered trespassing if you hired an inspector that was not a member of MIBOR and you gave him a code to get into a house. You might have permission. You got permission to go in there, which means you have to be there. So you're going to go, Hardev's going to schedule an inspector, but the inspector's not a member of MIBOR. So I can't give my code to that inspector unless I get permission from the agent.
Yeah.
Can I give this code to my inspector and let him go in unaccompanied?
Yeah.
Yes. Wonderful. Give the code.
I mean, that makes sense. I don't give my,
Otherwise, he
Secret
contact to
code
the
anyway.
seller.
What's that?
Otherwise, the inspector have to contact to the seller.
Sometimes we have the inspector contact them directly. Hey, here's the real estate agent's number. You can set up a time with them. I mean, you can do that any way. What you don't want to do is get access for yourself, or it looks like you're getting access for yourself, and then this guy shows up. Because then when all the jewelry is missing, it was your code that you gave that was used by this guy to steal all the jewelry. So you're responsible for it. And he's trespassing because he does not have permission to be there. I had permission to be there. So,
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I wouldn't give my security code into my house to anybody.
yeah, and that's the great way to think about it. Don't give your security code away, right? Don't give the seller's security code away. That's their code to their key to their house, and you're just throwing it around town. That's not good. So I'm pretty stickler on it. A lot of agents are not. They're more relaxed, and I'm not, because I do not want that phone call that a problem occurred, and it's because I shared it, So, your clients have scheduled this inspection now, and the inspector's getting into the house, and that's all going to, generally speaking, take care of itself. And I'm not going to train through what happens in all these different weird scenarios. But once the inspection is done, we get the report, And I'm going to end with this one at the end of it with inspections. We're going to get the report. Either our client sends it or the inspector sends it to us. And it's going to get filed in their system. So make sure Andrea is a part of that one way or the other. She's going to put the file, it's in the file. In info docs is where it's going to go. You'll see that. Then we're going to communicate with our client. And you're going to communicate with them one way or the other. Hey, I've already looked through it. Have you looked through it? You ready to talk, sort of thing? Or I'm going to take some time today, between today and tomorrow morning. I'm going to look at the report. You do the same, and let's set a time. How about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning? I give you a call and we talk about the report. And some of the things I will say in that is I will remind them what a defect is. And this is part of what you need to be really good at. What's a defect? A defect as defined by the purchase agreement, and you can write down, just look at the PA because it's literally in there. A defect is an item that is significantly and adversely, it significantly and adversely affects the value of the property, the safety of the occupants.
Is this an and or an
Or the life expectancy of the property or its components. The life expectancy of the property
back up to safety
and its components. Yep, that's right. So it's the very first one is significantly and adversely affects the value of the property, safety of the occupants.
Okay.
These are commas as in ors.
Okay.
Or the life expectancy of the property or its components. And that's it. That's what it says. Problem. That's kind of subjective, right? I've got a loose towel bar. Is that a defect? I'm going to say no, and I'll tell you why. But does it affect the value of the property? Not really. Certainly not significantly. Does it affect the safety of the occupants? Depends, because I've got a 2-pound towel on it and my 1-year-old stands up on his wobbly feet and does something pretty normal, which is pull a towel, and instead of the towel sliding off, the whole thing comes down on his head. He has 5 stitches in his skull. So does it affect the safety of the occupants? This is why I say it's subjective. I'm going to say it's not a defect. That's my stance on that one. But only a judge will decide. So although we've got this definition that sounds wonderful, it's still very subjective. And then, the life expectancy of the property or its components, no, towel bar probably would clearly not do that. But we've got the safety issue, right? So this is the way we think about it. The word I'm going to push hard on is significantly. And there's probably other words that could be added to this, like reasonably. Does it reasonably affect the safety of the occupants? No. Under the vast majority of circumstances, a loose towel bar is not affecting the safety of the occupants. Is there a wild scenario where it could? Yes. But significant is the key word that I lean in on about defects. And gosh, I'm getting so far into this thing. Significant. A towel bar is $5. Well, it was 10 years ago. It's $25. The house is $400,000. That $25 thing is not significant, in my opinion, in relationship to what you're buying. That's why I would say that's not a defect.
But a foundation issue would be.
Foundation issue could be. Yep.
Could be, but not would be.
If it depends on what we're calling an issue. This is why it's crazy. She said, is it a foundation issue? Well, it depends on what issue it is, right? If there is a hairline crack in a new build pour, that's not an issue. If you can't put a quarter in there, an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch or whatever their rule is, then it's not considered a defect by their contracts. So there's, you could have a foundation crack that is a defect and a foundation crack that is not a defect. And if you can't work it out among the buyer and the seller, the judge will get to decide.
But the inspector would say major defect.
No, inspectors have that's a great question, Robin. Inspectors have zero bearing on the transaction. They do not hold legal sway by nature. An inspector could call a light bulb being burnt out as a major defect, and it does not change anything, that it's not a defect. Never pay attention to the inspector. He's going to write safety hazard, maintenance item, major defect, minor defect. Everybody's got different templates they use and words they say. Ignore it.
So where is the responsibility? Because question,
Yep.
my knowledge about looking at a house and seeing what's a major defect,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know everything
Yep.
about a house, okay? I know stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm probably just enough to be dangerous. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So you know a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know a lot more
Mhm.
looking at a house than I would. Like, that water heater looks like it's gonna explode. I don't
Right. Yeah, it's all whatever it is.
I
I
don't
love
know.
it. Such good question. So the funny part is the guy who knows more about the house is more dangerous legally than you are, because they're trusting me. If I say, "Oh, that's no big deal," guess what? They're gonna go, "Okay, well, Eli said it's no big deal, so it's no big deal." That's a terrible idea on my part. That's why I don't go to inspections. I'm not going to give you the thought that I'm going to communicate or have this conversation about this. I don't dictate what is a defect and what is not. A judge does. So the inspector doesn't dictate. The buyer and seller are trying to arrive at a conclusion together. I love the way you say, "I know enough to be dangerous." That's the perfect spot that you need to be aware of. Is the only thing you are is dangerous. The more you have that conversation. You are not to communicate about what is or is not important, what is or is not a defect, what things cost to repair. The inspectors don't even do that. They literally say, "Oh, look, a crack." They don't say, "And that's a big one," or "And that's going to," they say it could lead to water penetration, right? Or that could be an expensive repair. I recommend being evaluated by an appropriate contractor. Go read an inspection report someday by a really good inspector, and you will learn some great bail language. "I don't know. I mean, that's a crack. That's all I know. I see a crack." That's literally what they're doing. "Oh, that light bulb's out. I guess, nope, that light fixture is not operating appropriately. Could be a burned out light bulb, or it could be a failed fixture. I would recommend having it evaluated." What it is it's a burned out light bulb.
They would just say, "I don't know."
Yep. He's not going to say it's a burned out light bulb. He's not carrying around another one, screwing it in to test it. He's just saying, "That light's out. You might want to find out why." Because it could be an entire electrical problem in the whole house. Whatever. So that's the conversations I have. I'm like, I don't really know. I said, if you have questions, ma'am, about that crack, then I recommend we exercise our right to take additional time to evaluate it further. And we get a contractor out there and see what they say. Because I can't tell you. I don't know.
You can do that between the time of inspection. You have the right to do that and close. To say, "I want an additional inspector."
So in the purchase agreement, there's going to be two. There's two. I'm going to take 10 days to do the initial inspection. And if anything is found that requires further examination,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'm going to take 5 days or whatever it is. So you get those 5 days. If that's not enough time, then you just you request an extension. There's a document for requesting an extension.
Okay.
But yeah, when it comes to that, so we get the report and you're looking at it. I counsel them normally, let's look at the summary items.
Okay.
You can look at the whole report. You paid for the whole report. Totally fine. But I would say that in the vast majority of cases, the summary items are going to detail the more important items to be considered. But there's going to be a lot of information in there.
And when the buyer go to see the home, we go with him. He not just count the rooms, how many rooms and whatever. He also have to see all these things too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can take forever. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're talking about when you initially go see it?
When first time we go to see the house,
Yeah.
he have to see everything.
Yeah. Well,
I had one of those the other day.
Yeah. So the inspection world, I think we've talked about it. We'll definitely talk about it in the future. But during showings is a great time to help curtail inspection problems. Hey, look, the roof's old. If we make an offer on this house, we got to make an offer knowing the roof is old. Don't make an offer thinking, hopefully there's a problem at inspections, we can get a brand new roof. No, the roof is old. We're buying an old roof. It's an old roof. Done. There's going to be dings on it. If it's not actively leaking, we're buying it as is with regard to that roof. You can figure out how to say that, and I'll go through it later. But so the report comes in. Now we're going to call them, and we're going to figure out a time to go over it. We're going to ask them the question, is there anything in the report that you are seriously concerned about? And is there anything you have questions about that we might need to hire a professional for? Those are two really good questions. I'm not leading them. I don't want to point stuff out because it may not be important to them. That's fine. I'm not responsible for that. My responsibility is to ask them the questions. Is there anything you're seriously concerned about? And is there anything that we need to hire a professional to evaluate? Because, that crack, it's a crack. We don't know if it's important or not. We can get a professional to ask that. So that's what you're doing. And then from there, you're going to write a response. And we will talk about how those responses are written and the language we use and all that at a different time. This is the order of the thing. This is how you go through a transaction. But we're going to end up writing the response, the inspection response. Once we've come to the conclusions that we need to come to, we've maybe done extensions to the time to respond if we needed them. We've exercised additional time if we needed it, whatever. But we've arrived at this conclusion. We're going to ask for these 3 items to be repaired or this concession or whatever. Then you can do one of 2 things. You can email Andrea verbatim, exactly the words is what that means. You email Andrea exactly the words. Say, hey, Andrea, can you please create a buyer inspection response number 1 for my transaction on Main Street that says, quote, and then you write the exact words she is supposed to use, which you will learn those words. I will teach you those words. Then we write it. And then or you can go in and do it yourself, right? That's the other option. You just go into Zip Forms and pull it up and do it yourself. Totally fine, sometimes faster. But if I'm in the car, I'm going to go tell my phone is going to send a text and she's going to write it exactly. Then you're going to ask her or just whatever, have her send you a picture of it. Just right on her screen, snap. Then you can read what she wrote. You say, looks great, or hey, change this, because maybe you had a new thought. And then she changes it or whatever. And you say, awesome, thank you, send it for signatures. She sends it to your client. She says, hey, I sent it. You text your client, hey, you should have that in your, you should have that in your email. Text me when you signed it. They say, I got it. They sign it. They say, hey, we signed. You then tell Andrea, hey, they signed. And then hey, they signed, you can send it to the agent. Then boom, she sends it to the agent with a copy of the report and any other information related to the whole deal that we're doing
So
there.
Andrea sends it to the agent.
Yep.
And Andrea responds to the client.
Yep.
She does all that.
She'll do it all. You can do whatever you want, but if you're running around and don't want to mess with it, then she's there for doing that. She'll create the response that you tell her to create. She'll send it for signatures to your client. She'll get it back from your client. She'll send it to the agent. You just have to be in communication the whole time.
Right.
And then that's it. And then we wait on the seller to get that response. You confirm that they've received it. That's key. You text your agent and say, hey, we just sent it to you. Please let me know that you got it, because you don't want to miss a deadline because Zip Forms failed. They got it. They're going to evaluate it. Make sure you prep your client for waiting. The amount of time we give the seller to respond is going to be directly related to transaction timelines, but also what we're asking for. If we're asking for 5 different things, lots of stuff, and it's plumbing and HVAC and roofing and electrical, we might need to give them 10 days to respond because they've got to call all those trades and try to get them to the house. If we're saying, hey, give us $500 because that light fixture is broken and it doesn't work, well, then you give them 2 days. Come on, you can figure this out in 2 days. So it has to be reasonable. You can't force their hand and you can't cause them to miss a deadline because you push the envelope too fast. It literally is a legal thing. It's in our contract.
Is that 2 business days or just 2 days?
Just 2 days flat.
Okay.
Yeah, and there'll be a actual date on the paperwork. It won't be a counting thing. It'll be legitimately a date. You have until April 16th to respond in writing. Otherwise, this buyer's inspection response will be deemed as accepted. If they don't respond in time, it's automatically accepted. So remember that on inspection deadlines. If you miss your inspection deadline, you taking the house as it is. Yep. So those are the most scary deadlines in my opinion. Closing is also a pretty scary deadline, but the inspection ones are the ones that get scariest.
If inspection waived, the buyer don't want inspection, we have to send them a document, hey, we don't need inspection.
You do not, that would be, if the inspection is waived on the purchase agreement, then it's already done, right? If the purchase agreement is marked waived,
Yeah,
if you reserve the right to have an inspection and then choose not to, there is a document that is a acceptance of property. And it just says, we reserved the right to have an inspection. We did not have one. We're taking the property. Or we reserved the right to have an inspection. We had the inspection and everything's beautiful. We're taking the property. That's a great form to use. If you're not going to have any requests, use that form. That's, you don't have to, but it's nice. It's good documentation, professional.
What's the name of the form?
Acceptance of property.
Oh, okay.
And you'll see the inspection responses are actually called conditional acceptance of property. I accept the property assuming the seller corrects the following conditions.
Okay.
So, but acceptance of property is what you're looking for. So then the seller, goes over it all with their agent. They do whatever they need to do and they respond back. We accept it, or they're going to give you another response that says, we're not going to do all that, but we will do this. And then you take that to your client and do you like this? Yep. And then you accept that, or then you come up with another one and send it back to them, right? I will tell you it operates differently than counteroffers. I'm going to go over this in detail when we go through inspections as a contract world. But counteroffers on the purchase agreement, right? Counteroffers, they only change the items they mention, right? So if I have counteroffer and I say purchase price to be $100,000, all that, everything else stays the same in the whole contract except the purchase price that I mentioned. On an inspection response, every time a new response is sent, me to the seller or seller back to us, it deletes the other ones. So it is not a counteroffer. It is an erase everything and re-respond.
What do you mean deletes everything?
So I said, I want you to fix A, B, C.
Okay.
They come back and say, we will fix C and D. That means they're not fixing A and
That
B.
just completely wipes out the
Erases them.
inspection.
That's right. It erased what you sent.
Yeah.
Unless they refer to it. They say, we accept everything in buyer's inspection response number 1, except concessions to be 500 instead of 1,000. Well, then it's fine because they referred to it.
Okay.
But you'll see what happens to new agents is they say, we want you to fix A, B, C, and give us $500, right? Buyer says A, B, C, and $500. Seller comes back and says, we'll give you $1,000. Or go the other way. We'll give you $250. And you're like, that's fine. I'll take A, B, and C and $250. That's fine. Bad news. They didn't say they were doing A, B, and C. All they said was, we will give you $250. So it erased what you wrote.
Okay.
And that's all they're doing. I have gotten the leg up on agents over and over again because they go, hey, they didn't replace the refrigerator. So I didn't say we would replace the refrigerator. Yeah, on your inspection response, you said we'll replace the refrigerator and fix the mold. And then when we responded this, and I'm like, your response said fix the mold with a licensed contractor. You said nothing about the fridge.
Yeah.
So therefore the fridge fell off because it got erased when you replied back to me.
And the inspection response the second time when it comes back and they drop that, is that like addendum number 2 or 3 or like how are those?
Yeah, it's we'll go through all that. It's confusing numbering.
Okay.
There's actually 2 different numbers on each paper. It is wildly confusing.
Okay.
You'll get used to it, but
Okay.
Yeah, it's
That answers my question.
yeah, there's numbers and you'll learn to figure those out. Yep. So, back and forth, whatever. Finally, somebody goes, yep, we'll take it, or we cannot come to an agreement, and then we work towards a mutual release. But in theory, you come to an agreement, everybody signs, buyer accepts seller's inspection response number 47. If you've done it a bunch of times, and then boom, we're off to the races. The one thing I will say, buyer's inspection responses, those never go to the lender. I know we said this already, never go to the lender. They never go to the title company. That's between the buyer and the seller. If there are things that the lender must know about, such as, let's say, instead of fixing this fixture, I'm going to give them $500 in closing costs in lieu of any repairs. The lender has to know about that because it's closing costs. It's part of their loan world. So then we make an amendment to the contract that says seller to give buyer $500 in closing costs. Okay, Andrea knows how to do that. That way they don't see the inspection stuff. We don't want them to see the 87 items that are being repaired. We want them to only see the $500 that matters to them. And that would go to the lender and the title company. Again, Andrea will handle most of that, but it's good that you know how to do that because she's on vacation or sick or busy or whatever. But we literally the last time we sent in a buyer inspection response recently, this last week, and we sent an amendment with it because all we were doing was playing with the amount of money. And so we went from, they offered 2, we said 4, we sent a one saying 3, and they agreed that we figured they were going to agree to it. So we had the buyer inspection response that says all these items you're going to fix and you're going to give us $3,000 in closing costs. And we had an amendment here that went at the same time that said seller to pay $3,000 of buyer's closing costs. So in one fell swoop, we got both documents signed, sent back, and one we keep, the buyer inspection response, and one we sent to the lender and title. So we get good about streamlining things a little bit.
But again, that would be in Andrea's.
Yep.
I will just watch all that happen.
You watch it happen and you specifically direct her with language. You have to always specifically direct her. She does not write words. She copies and pastes words.
Okay.
She's not allowed to write words. She's not allowed to counsel clients. She can't go through an inspection response with them, for instance, as much as I would love her to. Another agent could, you could be like, hey, I don't want to do this. I'll pay this agent to go through it with my client, whatever. You can do whatever you want with an agent, but that's it. So that's inspections. We're all the way through inspections. Next week, we're going to pick up on the next steps, but that's that first big hump, right? We got the accepted offer. It drops down to chill out for a second, and then we get the inspection report back, and it's now up here again. A lot of communication, a lot of stress. This is the slippery rock when we're talking about this buyer book. Good news, we already told them about it, right? Right here. Inspection. This is the biggest, most slippery rock in this creek. This is where it all goes wrong most of the time, if there's going to go wrong. So it's high emotions, but you can get through it if you know how to help your client make decisions. This is part of the be decisive. You can refer back to this. Remember that booklet we talked about, Mr. and Mrs. Client? We had this spot where I told you how to avoid and reduce emotional whiplash right there where it says determined to remain calm and decisive. This is one of those moments. We kind of have a go, no go situation here. We just got to make a decision, and I'll help you through it. We talk to pros and whatever. So that's the scariest part. That's the part where people get hung up. Inspections agents mess up all the time, and they write too many words. We'll talk all about that. There's so much to learn in that world. So,
But that's where you have to step back and not give them your advice about, well, I think this will be okay.
that's right.
I mean, I would like,
Yeah, you love them. You want to give them your advice. I'm not saying I never give advice, but I'm very careful how I give advice and the caveats to which I give advice. Like, honestly, I'm not a professional here. I have some experience in that area, but it's got to be up to you guys. And if you don't personally have firsthand knowledge of what you should do, we need to find a professional to help, and I can help you find that professional. Be like, I can refer you to a lawyer, right? I can refer you to a contractor. My personal experience says that's probably not a big deal, but I do not want you relying on my personal experience because there's 1,000 variables here. Blah, 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 whatever.
right.
Historically, buyers don't consider that a big deal. Sellers don't consider that a big deal. But, you know what the definition of a defect is, and only you and a judge can kind of work through that together. You're counseling, you're helping, but, whew, yeah, you don't want to get caught.
It goes back in the report.
You don't want to go back to it. You don't want to be found that we're all going to court and they've got a text from you that says, that crack's no big deal. And then it became $100,000 big deal. And now Fathom's buying their house from them. And we're all losing our licenses, right? That's what we don't want. So just careful.
Yeah.
Careful. All right, I'm going to shut this off. Next week, we'll talk a little bit about the next steps, appraisals and kind of the rest of the transaction. Maybe a little bit about what the title company's doing, not a ton, but we'll go from there.